Welcome back to Faith It Till You Make It. On our last episode, I shared how I came to faith through the heart and not the head. I was convicted because I was an emotional mess. The only thing that made sense was to just give my mess to God. A heart conviction is that deep emotional moment where you feel God so strongly that you can't help but surrender. It's like that moment in tears where you're so deep in the feelings jar that you profess to God you're never going to sin again until at least breakfast time. The challenge of a conviction of the heart is being able to defend your faith. And eventually, over time, you're going to probably start to gaslight yourself when the nature of spiritual doubt comes up. Well, why do you believe in God, Rachel? Because it feels good and someone told me he loved me. But how do you really know? I guess I don't really know. It's not exactly sturdy reasoning. Now, the head conviction is different. It's steady. It's like an intellectual introvert at a party looking around knowing that others are acting foolish, but not really vibing. It's the knowing who God is, but holding an empty feelings jar. It's not that their facts don't care about your feelings. It's just that the facts are the facts. The challenge of convictions of the mind is, well, we are emotional beings, and the gift of God lives in our heart. So we kind of have to have the emotional connection to God too. It took me a while before I started to deepen my own understanding of God after my emotional surrender. And I think it's probably because it didn't help that the first Bible I bought after my conversion was like a King James version, which to me is honestly, it's the equivalent to reading the periodic table. Blah, 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 something about salt, something about brimstone, something about lime. Just in case for you fact checkers, that would be in Isaiah 33:12 about lime, where he says, "And the people shall be like the burnings of lime." All right. Anyways, that's enough of science class. So there are two ways people come to faith, and it's either a conviction of the heart or a conviction of the mind. Either way, the start of your convictions can sometimes feel incomplete, and that's totally normal. But you have to keep in mind that what got you somewhere isn't always the thing that will keep you there. And with everything in life, we have to be able to grow. For faith, it's in wisdom and in heart. If we only have the emotion from our conviction, that faith fire is going to burn bright, but it's going to fizzle very fast. But if we only have the intellectual faith, then it becomes sharp, but cold. So we really need both the fire and the foundation. I'm pretty sure that's the reason Matthew 22:37 calls for us to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. It's like God knew we would need the reminder that it's not one or the other. He knows who we created, and he knows the constant reminders that we need. He doesn't want us walking around with a lopsided faith. Another area the waters part for believers is how we run to God. So we have the praisers, that's me, who run to God when life is going great, and our gratitude journals are overflowing. We're the ones that seek God's grace when we snag that perfect parking spot in the Target parking lot. Praise Jesus! It's close to the door and the cart return. The problem with the praisers is that, well, sometimes our life is 90% chaos and 10% great parking spots. So if that's the case, then what are we doing with God in the 90%? Well, if it's me, I'm saying, move out of the way, God. I got to get a handle on this chaos. I'll see you when I get it taken care of. A 10% relationship with God is like finding a single piece of glitter on the counter. It doesn't actually make your counter pretty because it's glitter. It just feels more like a nuisance. Then there's the pleaders. I truly thought this was me for the longest time because of how I originally came to faith in the first place. But once I was deep in it, I realized that actually wasn't the case. The pleaders tend to run to God when the sky is falling on them. Lord, it's me again. Things are going rough. My kids are sick. My job is driving me to the asylum. The bills are piling up. And yeah, I'm pretty sure my Wi Fi is possessed by demons. Can you send help? The challenge here is your faith can feel like a customer service hotline when you're a pleader, and you're probably going to miss out on the joy of the friendship with God. Now, if you feel close to God in the dark, the problem is you might end up turning more lights off on purpose and kind of missing the glitter bombs that he's been throwing at you. Then we have our merely present peeps. These are the rare few that casually speed walk to God in the ordinary. They're the ones that pass the time with God on the drive to work or while doing the mundane things. It's the routine of going to God, but not always being with God. But God created us with passion. And when we live as the present person, we're not sharing that passion with God. It becomes routine and therefore feels routine. If you ask me, we're already doing enough running around in life. We run to the store, we run to kids' practices and games, we run to our work meetings, we run out of patience. The last thing that we need to do is to be running to God in specific scenarios. I think what we're supposed to be aiming for is that steady relationship with God. It's about bringing Him into our mess and into our joy and into our ordinary. All right. So you got convicted, you made the conversion, you're feeling pretty good, maybe even glowing. But are you prepared for the spiritual collision? Because here's the thing, faith is not a straight line. It's more like a roller coaster that was designed by someone who skipped engineering school entirely and just said, hey, let's wing it and see what happens. Sometimes in our faith walks, we take the collision detours where the feelings aren't matching the faith. You know what I mean? Like those moments when you know God is good, but it feels like He's ghosting you. It's like being in airplane mode. The connection's technically there, but nothing's loading. You're staring at your spiritual Instagram, waiting for a reel of encouragement, and all you get is the buffering. But here's the twist. This is actually where faith lives. It's in the gap between what you feel and what you know, the gap between God is faithful and I don't feel Him right now. Faith is in between the emotion and knowing. And that's where we start to forge that iron trust. We're trusting that He is still present in it all, even if the Instagram reel isn't loading. We assume that airplane mode means God isn't there, but in those moments, He just might be whispering instead. In the story of Elijah, he looked for God in the fire, the wind, in the earthquake, but he didn't hear Him because God was whispering to him instead. It's just a sign that maybe it's time to bring your chaos, joy, and ordinary into the gap because He's drawing you in through the whisper. Either way, here's the good news. Convict and convert aren't the end game. They are just the starting point. Like, welcome to the faith party. Now grab a plate, find your seat, because the real work is just beginning. Conversion is beautiful, don't get me wrong. It's the moment when the light bulb flickers and you realize, ooh, Jesus isn't just a historical figure. He's my lifeline. But if we stop there, we're basically spiritual toddlers who just learned how to walk and decided we're ready to run a marathon. Transformation is what happens when faith starts to seep into the cracks of your everyday life. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's actually quite subtle. Like realizing you didn't yell at your kids this time, or you chose prayer over panic once this week. That's growth. That's transformation. And here's the thing. Transformation looks different for everyone because our messes are different. So some of us are dealing with grief. some with shame, some are dealing with spiritual confusion, and some are just trying to figure out how to not cry in the school pickup line every Tuesday. Let's be real. God is not asking you to abandon your Swiftie era and trade it in for the George Strait classics. He's not judging your playlist. He just wants to be on it. You can have your worship music, your breakup anthems, your 90s country hits all living in harmony. Because when it comes to transformation, it's not about erasing who you are, it's about refining it. And the simple thing there is just bring God into it, and He'll do the heavy lifting. You just gotta be present, patient, and willing.